Hello and welcome to the Dice Tower. I'm Wendy Yi.
And I'm Chris Yi.
And today we are going to be reviewing the Akropolis Athena expansion.
Yes, this was my favorite expansion for the Xena, The Legendary Journeys TV show.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Have you watched Xena recently?
I mean, how recently? Like as an adult?
As an adult, yeah. Seeing the camera like follow the little spinning.
Oh my goodness. There's so many sound effects.
There's a lot of punchy, that 90s like stock footage, like.
So I tried rewatching the first episode once, and they're just jumping from stick to stick. And I'm like, why? Why are we fighting on sticks?
Mm-hmm. Much like this game.
Fighting on sticks. Anyways, I'm going to show you how this is played, and we're going to stop talking about Xena Warrior Princess.
I will not stop. Can't stop.
All right, I have here in front of me the Athena expansion. And so what you're going to do is you're going to set up the base game just as you would normally. You'll choose whether or not you want to use the additional back variants. And then you'll go ahead and add all of this to the side. This is 4 randomized cards from a whole deck of cards over here. And then you're going to randomize 4 of these individual tiles, once again from a whole pile of them, under each one of the cards. And then you're going to assign one of the pieces of the statue to each one of these cards. Now these cards are new objectives that everyone can work towards. They are first come, first serve in the sense of when you complete an objective, you get to gain the statue tile, and there's 1 statue tile per player, so you're not going to run out of these. But then also the first come, first serve part is gaining these tiles underneath. You get to have your choice of one of the 4 tiles. So let's go ahead and talk about the objectives over here. These are color based, so as you can see the color of card determines what colors we're working with. But some of them have to do with the height and placement with adjacencies, and then other ones just have to do with what's surrounding it. For example, this says 2 separate yellow tiles that are both completely surrounded by either a normal tile or a star tile. So basically surround yellow with anything. And then this one over here, this one says that you have to have 2 adjacent greens, but one of them has to be on a different level from the other one. Next, I want to talk about the little differences in these tiles. So these are individual tiles that can be placed on any level, anywhere on your board. One thing that is different about them is, well, I guess first we have the star tiles and then we have regular, just normal scoring tiles. But the difference is that we have these 2-tone tiles here, and these 2-tone tiles are going to score as you would normally, but with 2 different colors. And they do affect adjacency. For example, if I have this going on here, I know green doesn't need adjacent bonuses, but if I did for some reason want my greens to be adjacent, these are considered adjacent there because they touch on alongside. However, if I turned this, they would not be greens being adjacent. They wouldn't be touching each other. That's more important when you have stuff like the yellows or the blues. For example, these blues would not be touching right here. Therefore, they would not be part of the same group. The final aspect to this expansion is gaining this statue. If you're able to complete the entire statue, then at the end of the game, those little rebel gray cubes are going to be worth 5 points each instead of 1 point each. So if you're really working towards gaining a lot of that rubble and building up this whole statue, if you complete all this, then you can get that extra point score multiplier as well.
Starting off with this expansion, I want to talk about the theme behind it. The theme of building a statue of Athena. Did you really feel that going in as you're surrounding yellow tiles with other colored tiles?
No.
But you built a statue, Chris.
That is fun, and the pieces are very thick, right? I would say one of the things about the original Akropolis, and this expansion keeps up with it.
Sure.
Really good production value.
Yeah, I think that that's fair. The actual gameplay, though, as an expansion, I appreciate that it is just something you can add in on the side, just kind of as these objectives. You don't have to mix it in and get it stuck and lost within your game. So I appreciate that. But honestly, I'm surprised they didn't just add a different set of variant rules. Like, that's what I was expecting from getting an expansion for this game.
More ways of scoring, kind of what Cascadia did. Mm-hmm. And before we get too far into this, people will say, review the expansion for what it is, not what it's not.
Sure.
And I totally agree with that point. But I am a little bit surprised because that game does seem like it could have a few more scoring modules built into it, or in an expansion. And instead, like you said, this focuses on a side scoring mechanism.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that, but there's also nothing wrong with saying, I was hoping for some different ways to, like, blues score differently, greens behave differently.
Yeah, and I think that adding this in It works. The game itself is not a super complicated game. It's got some real thinky moments, but I don't feel like this overcomplicates it.
Depending on the setup. So you put out those 4 cards, and some of them are much more difficult to do than others, and some of them are much more difficult to do in tandem with each other than others. We've played it where there's 4 very easy cards, and we're just kind of racing to get them done fast, and then sometimes there's ones that we go, I don't know if I could do all 4 of these by the end of the game.
I don't know if this is going to be possible for anybody to do because they need specifically a star tile on a 4th level, and all the star tiles like of that color came out early on in the game. Yeah. Like that's not even possible.
So depending on your random mix of the tiles coming out, but also depending on the mix with each other. And that's fine, but for the fact that sometimes one person will finish all 4 of the Athena statue pieces and get 5 points per leftover stone at the end of the game, which that's basically having your own color that you scored, 50 points in that nobody else did. How many points do you score there? 4.
Yeah, that is a weird thing for me because you can collect a lot of rubble cubes if you build up a ton. I do appreciate that it makes those white spaces a little more powerful because you never want to cover up an actual covered spot. Yeah. But then when you cover up the non-covered spots, getting a rubble cube, you're like, okay, that's a point. That's fine. But if you can finish that statue, that's massive points. Now, I guess when I talk about not being overcomplicated is I think adding in this rule set is not a lot more rules. And that's what I mean by not overcomplicated.
It is not rules complicated,
It can make it super crunchy for sure, especially if you add in those extra variants that are in the rule book. So you have your like base scoring of the colors, and then you have the optional variant scoring of the colors on top of that. And then you add in the additional, like, let's also try to shoot for these objectives. At that point, it does kind of feel like objective soup. Like, I don't know what I'm scoring, and I know everything I do will probably score something, but then there's ones that will score significantly more.
Yeah, the original game of Akropolis is one where you and I have very different feelings on it, right? I like it.
You
love it a lot. I find it to be sometimes frustrating and sometimes a little bit boring, right? So why am I even in this review? Well, because I was hoping that the expansion would
fix that for you?
Would fix some of the complaints I have with it. In the original game, I feel like if you see a star tile out there, multiplier, get it.
Yes.
Right? It doesn't really matter. Just get more of those, and you'll probably win or do very well. And the point that you made that I really appreciated is that this expansion does give you more to shoot for, because taking a tile that has no stars on it can play into some of these things, and maybe that rubble strategy does kind of offset that. You still obviously need to get multiplier tiles.
Sure.
But this is more of an avenue to do that. That being said, I still don't love it, but I think it does increase your option space there and take away some of those like obvious things to do.
And I think that helps with the randomization, because I do feel like this game suffers a little bit from just being overly random. If you get cards revealed, or if you get the tiles revealed to you that you can afford because you don't want to spend your rubble or you don't have rubble, if you're like, yeah, the next one in line for me when stuff gets revealed, cool, it's got 3 stars on it, I'll take it. Like there is a little bit of that feel behind it. And so adding in these objectives, I think that with so much to do and so many ways to score, you can now make anything work for you, but not necessarily win, if that makes sense. Like I feel like you can have fun making a city no matter what. So.
Yeah, I agree there. In terms of final thoughts and score at this point?
Score.
For me, this is hard, right? Because I don't love the base game. I think that the expansion does improve it. However, I also feel that with the expansion that you better try to get all 4 parts of that statue or else, right? Or else you're missing a whole line of the multiplier there, of the score, right? Mm-hmm. If someone ends the game with 40 points in stone and you end the game with 3 points, that's just... You better have made it up huge somewhere else, and it's possible in this game. But I do find that, unfortunately, creates one new avenue where there's something obvious to do. Get all 4 parts of the statue. So it's an improvement. I'm giving this one a 6.5, right? And that's coming from someone who's not a huge fan of the base game. If you already are, I could see you saying, hey, this does open up some nice options. Or I could see you saying that... at the same time, this causes people sometimes to kind of bog down because now there's more decision space that they're going with for such a simple, quick, breezy game. And all of a sudden someone locks down for 2 minutes on their turn just calculating all these things. So it's a give and take. I think it is better, but it's still not something that I'm going to gravitate towards. So 6.5 from me.
Okay, this one's going to be a 7.5 for me, which is less than I did the original game. I like that it points you in a direction because I did feel like the direction before was get stars. And then when playing with the variants, I appreciated that it gave you a little bit more flexibility. You still obviously very much needed those stars, but you could lean a little bit more into a single color and really build up that multiplier. But I feel like this expansion allows you to stick with that base game and still feel like there's more to it because they're pointed in that direction. So you're given those 4 cards and you're like, I'm going to work towards this. I am really curious. I've not played a game yet where someone who hasn't completed the full statue has been the winner. And I'm very curious if that's possible. And it might be, and it probably just depends on those cards and how possible they are because there are games where you cannot, everybody can't finish the statue. Yeah. So it does increase the variability and the luck, but I think that it rounds it out nicely. I think it adds some good levels to it. And once again, it's optional and it's so easy to take out that if you don't like it, it's okay. So there you go. That's the Akropolis Athena expansion. That's a seal of approval for me.
Well, there you go. Thanks for coming out to this review from the Dice Tower here. If you enjoyed yourselves, leave a like or subscribe to the channel. We don't ask very often, but every once in a while it's good to remind you that does help and support us
that it
over
does.
here.
All right, thanks for joining us today. I'm Wendy Yi.
And I'm Chris Yi.
And have fun building statues, because that's what everybody does every single day of their life.
And watch Xena Warrior Princess.
Did I do that right?
Hey everybody, thanks for watching another video from the Dice Tower. Hey, you want to learn more about us, communicate with us? We have a Facebook group, we have a Discord channel, lots of different ways to get involved with the Dice Tower. You can find that in our Linktree link below. So just click that, it will take you and you can communicate with us on Facebook, join our Facebook groups. There's lots of cool things that you can find and become part of the Dice Tower. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Tom Bassett.
Approved. Where's that approval? Approved. All right, we ready to start?
Lucy Lawless had one of my favorite cameos in The Simpsons, where at the end of the episode, she takes Bart and Lisa and just starts flying off. They're like, wait, Xena can't fly. She's like, I'm not Xena, I'm Lucy Lawless.